Okay, we're holding in the middle of still of the introduction. We'll go a little faster today of Shaar Habitochon, the Gates of Trust, from Rabbeinu Bechaya. And we're middle of him giving an example of the difference between a Baal Hakmiya and a person who trusts in God. A Baal Hakmiya is an alchemist, a person in those days who would kind of create things out of raw materials to make gold or silver. The idea is that someone who's working to try to create an idea as opposed to someone who trusts in God. So he's giving 10 examples of the difference. And the point of it is if you're relying on schemes or ideas, and how protected are you and how solid are those ideas versus just trusting in Hashem that could do anything. So he says, Va'asheni, the second difference is Shabal ha-kimya zokuk l'maisim u'pu'ulas shaloi yal b'yodei mivukashe b'ladehem. And those who are following in the English, it is in the Chabad library, middle of part 5 of the introduction. So the alchemist is, so he says again, Vashen Shabal ha-kimya is a zokuk, he needs l'maisim l'pu'ulas. You need to do certain things and actions that without it, you're not going to get what you're looking for. It means in order to create the myth that certain materials are gold or silver, you need to be able to do certain things. And therefore, that preoccupation that you have to use in creating something is shimisuhu reichaisehem ve'edehem, that the chemicals, so to say, that create this could be damaging. Again, this is all also alluding to, it doesn't just mean an alchemist, a person who lived 1,000 years ago, they believed that they were able to do these things. If they weren't, I'm not sure. But the idea is that all these things that you need to do to try to create your own security, and you are trying to be in control of your own security, there's consequences. Could be the toiling, the things that you're trying to do could be damaging. Where the person applying constant toil to trying to create your own security, and therefore that constant toiling day and night, as he says, is damaging. However, the person who trusts God is bevitcha min hapgoyim. He says the trust is he's safe, so to say, from any damages, and he's calm, he has shalva from any kind of thoughts that could bring him or her tsaris, negativity. Why? Because everything he has is he just trusts in Hashem. Not that he's not doing, but he's not toiling in it. He's not putting himself, it's like it says, it's brought down in the pasuk, the Rebbe always quotes, Yigia kapecha v'lo yigia roish. The toil has to be in your hands, not in your mind. The person has to do what they have to do, but it shouldn't preoccupy your mind. And even more than that, whatever God gives that person from his absolute watching each individual and giving them what they need, it's a pleasure to this person and brings happiness. And the person who trusts God knows that his mezainis, his food, his substance, comes to him, Hayariel, with a quiet heart and with menucha and calmness. Versus the person who tries to create his own, you're toiling, trying to create something. If you think you're in control of your destiny, especially if you're trying to create something out of nothing, you're constantly preoccupying to keep this idea going, where the person who has trust in Hashem has his or her substance provided to them for them, and therefore they're calm. Ka'amrei, like it says, and this is the verse the Rebbe always quotes from chapter 23 of Tehillim, that I walk on pastures and I walk on calm waters, that the God leads me along. You have menucha. When a person trusts in Hashem, the trust itself allows for the person to have proper menucha, proper calmness, proper tranquility in their life. He says, okay, so that's the second thing. The second thing is that you're not toiling, you're not so stressed out. Vashlishi, the third difference is, Shabala Kimya, if you think you have an idea that makes you special, that you could figure out, you broke the system, you could figure out how to be successful, what are you going to do? First thing you're going to do is guard your secret. Why? Because you think that as long as you have your secret intact, so then you'll be successful, and then the more people that know it, the less successful you'll be, right? If there's more people in the market, there's less ability for you to have an advantage. I bet. However, the person who trusts God, the person who trusts God is not going to say, "Wow." Here, the Rabbeinu Bachai is saying an amazing thing. Not only are you not ashamed of your trust in God, right? A person doesn't say, why are you so calm? Because I trust God. So you're so calm, you trust God. So a person may say, okay, I trust God, but I'm not going to tell anyone about it because I think people are going to think I'm crazy. I trust God. That's my strategy in life, to trust God. So he says even different. The Rabbeinu Bachai goes totally different. That not only are you that, of course you would tell everyone about it, but maybe you think, one second, what's going to be my advantage if everyone trusts God, right? If everyone trusts God, so everyone's going to know my secret, that by trusting God, that's the way to be. Sorry about that. I have to put you on mute. It's coming over some static. So if I trust God, that's my secret. Then I have an advantage. So I'm not going to tell anyone about my advantage. So he says, of course not. That's a foolish thing to think. Because if you trust God, you're proud of the fact that you trust God, and God could provide for you and could provide for everyone. My grandfather used to say, he was a businessman. He used to say that when he started a business. And when he started his business, he was a Holocaust survivor who came alone from Europe, and he built a business in Los Angeles. So he told me once, he says, I taught all my friends my business. I said, why would you teach all your friends your business? I mean, you're creating competition. This is what he means. God can provide for everyone. No one's taking what's mine. God gives me what's mine. So it's not like I can't teach someone my business, and because of that I'm going to lose. But where does that foundation come from, that someone could think like that? That God Baruch Hashem could provide for everyone. That comes from having trust in Hashem. Kamaim Rachasid, like King Solomon, like it says in Tehillim, he calls King David the Chassid. Be'elokim do'tachti, because I trust in God. Lo ira ma yasa adam li. I'm not fearful what a person could do to me, because my trust is beyond any strength that what someone could do. Okay, so the third thing is that the person who tries to create their own advantage tries to protect that as a secret, because they feel that as long as they have the advantage and no one else has it, they'll be successful. Whereas the person who trusts in God, not only is he not ashamed in the fact that he or she trusts God, but not only does he want to maybe keep it as a private, feels that trust gives an advantage to me. If you really trust in God and understand what trust in God means, then of course you should tell everyone about it. You're proud of it, you tell everyone about it, and let everyone else have the same trust, the same God, like the Alter Rebbe says, the same God that provides for 1,000 people, Parnasa could provide 1,001, or health, or what have you. The fourth thing, Varavi, the fourth different advantage is Shabal Hakimya, the person who tries to create their own circumstances. Lo yimalid mikach im shiyachin habri min hakesav azav leishit starach loi. Oish lo yachin bahem uma kim gidei sipuke lizman muat. He says that the person who creates their own, tries to create their own gold and silver, that he says like this claimer, yoger harber kesav azav lizmanach gidei shebechol eishis dakik lem yilir shusei ma'arga sherich lishtamish boy oilehepech shlo yachin bahem uma kim gidei sipuke yachin rak es a kamas an chutzaloi gidei sapke sarchul lizman muat. So he says that either he's going to create a lot, person wants to have, right? The person feels that what's their security is if I create a large a retirement fund. I need to have a lot of money. So if I need to work very hard now, so I should have a lot of money now in case when I no longer could create my circumstances, right? The Rebbe wasn't a big fan of life insurance based on this idea. You're paying all this money, so when you should have, it means you're trying to create your own foundation, or you just create a little bit of money, he says, for the moment. So he says like this, what happens? If you create a lot of money, right? What happens? You're constantly, it means He says one or two things. Again, if you're trying to create your own circumstances and you're always trying to figure out your plan, so you're always going to be one way or another, either going to create a lot of money, and then you're going to be in a situation where you're constantly scared. Maybe I'm going to lose this money, right? I can't dip into my retirement fund. I can't dip into my savings. What am I going to live on? I can't help another person. Someone comes to me for charity. How can I help you? I need money for when I retire, right? So b'mini sibas akilayin, you're constantly worried about different things that are going to cause you to lose your security. You're constantly scared. You have no peace and no quietness in your life. Maybe the king's going to come. Maybe the government's going to come and have a huge tax requirement. And if I only create a little bit of money, maybe it's not going to be enough. I'm going to lose it. I won't be able to create again. Maybe I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able to create it when I need it. Because maybe the reasons that I was able to create money now won't be available to me later. So if I create a large security, then I'm constantly nervous to keep that security. If I say no, I'm going to go with the moment. What happens if I can't go with the moment every time? So again, this is a person that's trying to constantly figure out their own way to security in life. And what the Rabbeinu Bachai keeps on pointing out in different manners, different ways, that you're not really giving yourself peace of mind, because anything you've created on yourself, there's vulnerabilities of things that could go wrong, that your security won't be so secure. However, the person who trusts in God, you support yourself strong on God, so that He will provide to you as you need. Whenever as He needs and as you need and in the place you need. So you're not limited in a space. I have to live here. I have to live there. Again, the story of the Alter Rebbe met a person who opened up a business, a hotel, let's say, in the middle of nowhere, on the other side of town, because he figured the person who's coming on the other side of town is going to need somewhere to stay if they don't want to go into the main city, right? So the Alter Rebbe said, but he went to that person and goes, what do you do on Shabbos? What do you daven? You're not part of a minyan on Yom Tov. You live alone. So the person says, Rebbe, what should I do? I need parnas. I need to live. So the Rebbe said, the Alter Rebbe tells the person, the same God that provides for the other people on the other side of the river could provide for you. I mean, again, if you're creating your circumstances because you feel that that's the only way for your survival, so then you're limiting yourself and you're putting yourself in a stressful situation because you're trying to beat or to be part of at least the system, and to do that requires a lot of angles, and there's vulnerabilities where the person trusts in Hashem. Hashem has no limitations. That's the bottom line. There's no limitations. So for your foundation, for your security and your calmness, is because Hashem is going to provide for you. Again, you can have two people with the same job, the same salary. And it's an attitude that's different. The person who trusts in Hashem understands this is how Hashem is providing for him or her. And the person who thinks that this is the only way they get their security is because of their job. So it's their job that provides for them, not God. And therefore you're always nervous. What happens if I get fired? What happens to this? What happens to that? There's all these vulnerabilities that get you nervous. But the person who's trusting Hashem, it doesn't have anything different. It can have the same savings account, the same trust account, the same all of it. But it depends what your foundation of your trust. What are you trusting? Are you trusting Hashem? Or are you trusting the circumstances that you're trying to create? And he continues. Kamoi, he gives an example. It says that just like God, Shemekalkala sa uber berechem, right? When a baby's in its mother's womb. So at the end of the day, is the baby itself can't do anything. So God created Baruch Hashem so that the baby survives, hopefully when the mother eats. So to Efrech b'techa beitza, the young chick inside the egg of the mother. God created it so that both the baby and the chick have a way of sustenance. Asher ein ba mavrei lav mi b'chutz, right? The shell is blocking any kind of outside forces to get to the chick. Nevertheless, the chick grows and becomes a chicken, and eventually hatches and comes out. Now he mentions certain animals, the bird in the air, the flies in the sky. God provides for it. He doesn't have a trust account, right? Doesn't have a savings account. He doesn't have a retirement account. He knows God's going to provide. She knows that God's going to provide for the birds. Yes, he has to go hunt and all that. There's the fish in the sea, in the water. There's the namala, the small ant. There's the worm. He says, "Af al chushasam," even if they're weak, but God has a system to provide for them. So he'll provide for you too. And then he says, and sometimes the strongest of animals doesn't have anything to eat. Sometimes the lion has nothing to eat. As strong as the lion is, it's not a guarantee that he's going to have what to eat, or she's going to have what to eat. So it's not the strength, right? What do we say? We don't trust. It's not the strength of our situation in everything in life, in the security of Israel. We don't say because we have so many, we have so much, we're so strong. We go walk with the name of Hashem. As King David said, that even the Kfirim, even the great lions, even the rich could be hungry. God doesn't make the soul of the righteous to be hungry. It says, Nar Yisi, some people say this at the end of every benching, right? Nar Yisi becomes a kanti later, Yisi tzadik nezav, v'zarim vakish lachem. I haven't seen the righteous be left alone. What does it mean to be left alone? Left alone is that you're alone. It's not so much. It's not that the righteous person doesn't have any. Life is perfect and everything's easy. We're not talking about that. We're talking about that you're never alone. You never. The righteous person never feels. That's it. I'm alone. There's no situation. Whatever the situation is, the tzaddik knows that God is with him or her. Okay, so that's the fourth advantage. The fifth advantage, v'chamishi. Again, we're holding in the Chabad.org. We're in the introduction, part 5. So the fifth, Shabal HaKimya, the person who tries to create their own circumstances. So he says, Tachas Pachadu Moira al Avedasai, Mina Melech Vad HaPochash Shebitaishva. He says like this, that the whole time this person is under pressure and fear from people, from the king, that maybe someone's going to reveal their secret. Even the most simple person may find out and tell it out. You can't be trying to keep your secret. Someone once told me that in the Amazon business, the people that are getting shipments and they're reshipping it, so they get material things from China or whatever, what have you, from different suppliers, and then they sell it online. So other people try to take advantage and find they take their packages and they read where the supplier is shipping it from, so they could get the same supplier, so they could also get it. So the person's always nervous when someone's going to find who my supply is, because that's my advantage. My advantage is because I have a supplier. I found the supplier that no one else found. You have advantage because God gave you a blessing. And if someone finds out who your supplier is, don't worry about it. God will figure it out. Not saying you have to be careless. It's the worry about it. It's the obsession. It's the thing that's keeping you up at night. However, the person who trusts in God, you're proud to show yourself. You're not hiding from anyone. Because your foundation of your success, the foundation of your comfort, of your calmness, is your trust in Hashem. And here he says, you're not even fearful. Right on that the great tzaddikim are not even fearful of animals, of terrifying animals. Terrifying animals don't have to be animals. They could be people like animals. Why? Because you're not scared of any circumstances, right? What did the Baal Shem Tov said? The Baal Shem Tov, holy Baal Shem Tov said that his father told him on his deathbed, he's 2 or 3 years old, Yisraelik, don't be scared of anything. And every time the Baal Shem Tov faced issues, whether it was from people, whether it was in the forest, he said, how could you go to the forest alone? You're a small boy. He says, my father told me not to be scared of anything. He met evil forces. It says in the forest, he met evil forces and said, Yingla, he says, I'm not scared of anything. My father told me not to be scared. Not only that, he says, Ad shafilu shiki'ilu hadoimim mevakish ritzayne. Even the lifeless things, seemingly, like the stones and the things that have no movement, figure out a way to help you. He says, Kamamar Chassid, again, he calls King David the Chassid. He says, it says, Yaishev v'seiser, I sit, Elyon b'tzal shada yislainan. He says like this, Rashi says, Mishu choyse b'seiser, kanfe shchina hu yislainan. You lean, so to say, you have support in the shadow, so to say, of Hashem who protects you. And it says until the end of the Mizbar, the whole Mizbar of Yeshiv B'Seis Elyon is all about having faith in Hashem. And it says like this in the verse, it says, B'sheish tzaris yatzileka u'b'sheva lo yiga b'chara. Then he brings another quote, B'ra'ov padcha mimaves atzayf perik. So he quotes other, this is from Job. He says he says over here that in 6 troubles he will save you, and in the 7th no harm will touch you. In the famine he redeemed you from death. And the end of the chapter continues in Job how no matter what the situation is, you're protected. So therefore, there's no concern that you have to hide and you have to be scared that someone's going to reveal who you are. You're proud with your faith, and there's no force outside that could hurt you. Like he quotes later the verse 23 in Tehillim. The 6th thing he says, we're going to go a little faster, we're still in the introduction, we want to get eventually to the main part of the Shaar Habitochon, of the gates of trust. Vashishi, the 6th advantage of a person who trusts in Hashem versus the person who tries to create their own circumstances. Not everything is about money. So the person who tries to create their own circumstances, right? That's not going to save you from illness. That's not going to save you from other things that could be harmful to your life. Other disappointments. You try to create, see if your foundation is that you're trying to create security and happiness in your life by your own strategies. There's always some, there's again, not just the vulnerability in the strategy itself, but it's not foolproof. It doesn't protect everything. There's so many other things that are part of a person's life. The person becomes very wealthy, and then unfortunately gets sick, and maybe things don't work out for that person, right? Or has an illness in the family, or something else that goes wrong, a fight with a sibling, your marriage isn't good. I mean, there's so many other vulnerabilities. There's so many other parts that are part of that what makes a person have a healthy, happy life. And so even if you're trying to build protection on one, what's that going to help you with something else? And you have no joy in what you've created, right? So you've created all the security for what? For what? So you're going to live a long life, but you're not going to live a long life, God forbid. It's not a curse. But the Rebbeinu B'chai is pointing out that if your whole foundation for your happiness and security in life is based on all different strategies that you're trying to create, it's not foolproof and it's not going to cover all the issues. But if your trust is in Hashem, it's the same God that could provide for you, is the same God that could heal you, and the same God that keep you sick. Right? We say Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerech. It's the blessing of the coin. God should bless you v'yishmerech, and you have to keep it, to keep the blessing. Right? Rashi says it on the Torah and Parshas Nasai. So if you're going to get a blessing with finances, then you're going to have to spend it on therapy, on medicine, on helping. So you got the money, so you went and spent it on something that's else. What's better, to have money to pay for a bad situation, or to never have a bad situation? You never need even part of the money that you think you would need. He says, Hashem again, the one who trusts in Hashem, is protected, the same God that provides for you, the same God that protects you. Unless even if a person does go through difficulties, and maybe we're not even talking financially, health-wise, maybe it's a part of the meruk, maybe it's part of the cleansing. So even if you have something that you're dealing with, you're not trying to figure out, how did I go wrong? Why isn't my strategy foolproof? Because you understand there's things in life that are part of that are cleansing. Like sometimes in order to get things you have to pay. Sometimes you have to be taking, some things have to be They have to be accounted for. Ka'amru, like he says, he quotes from Yeshaya Hanavi. I'm going to quote the pasuk. He says, "Vayi'afu na'arim," that the young people are now. He says, now the youth shall become tired and weary, and young man shall stumble. So he says, "Ya'afu na'arim v'yigo habachrim kashal yikashelu." The koivi Hashem, however, those who hope in the Lord shall renew their vigor. Means even if you're tired, having kavig, having hope in Hashem, tikva, the word kavig and the word tikva, gives you back your strength because you understand you're connecting. The things that make you tired you in life are because you're tired of life sometimes. But if you realize that this is part of life is Hashem is giving you an opportunity, whether it's for truth or what have you, that gives you back strength. But Omer, he says also, like this, he quotes now also from Tehillim chapter 37, Tizroyes Rishayim Tishabarna v'Semech Tzadikim Hashem. But the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord supports the righteous. And he says over here, like the Metzudas David says, the fish sheyushber choizik harasha v'lo yishar oisher biyadei aval tzaddik semach Hashem ash yesh biyadei tiskayim. He says, what does it mean to break the arms? The Metzudas David says that even if you have things, you could lose them. Where Hashem supports the tzaddik, that what the tzaddik has, the tzaddik he or she should keep. Again, another time where your strategy is not foolproof. And he continues, number 7. Bahashri, the 7th thing, Shabbalakimya, that the person who tries to create their own circumstances. So here he says, let's say you're successful, right? But what happens if that doesn't help you? Because even if you have, there's not what you want, right? You have, let's say, money, right? Money is good to buy you something. Once there's nothing to buy, there's nothing to buy. There's no value in the money. So you're trying to create a means to have success, but that's if the means could buy you something. What happens if you have the means but doesn't yield anything because there's a famine or there's inflation, what have you? Like it says, Ka'amrim, it says, Kasvam v'chutzais yashlichu v'zahav l'nida yiyah kasvam v'zahavim la'yuchel hatzilam. That's like you have to throw your gold and your silver outside. Your silver is is a forbidden currency because it doesn't have any value, and so it can't save you. But that's again. So that's because you're trying to create security on circumstances. What happens is, okay, you get it, and you have it, and you kept it, and all that. But now, but there's nothing to buy. Again, but by Teach Hashem, again, he's pointing out all different angles. At the end of the day, is that trust in God is foolproof. It's all inclusive. There's nothing that exists outside of Hashem. There's nothing outside God's reach. And he's doing it step by step. Everything you try to create for yourself, even if you have these securities, even if what you achieve, it doesn't guarantee that what you try, just because you achieved it, it's going to yield for you something. He says, "V'habateach al Hashem," but the person who trusts God, there's not going to be anything lacking. As long as you're alive, you're going to have what you need. If you have it or not is irrelevant, but the trust in Hashem is that relationship. If you exist and you believe that God created you and created for a purpose, right? You see, when you're able to connect to the greater purpose, to the greater kavanah, right? The intention. Why was I created? God didn't just create things. Everything the Baal Shem Tov teaches, everything has a purpose. Not only that, everything you see in life has a purpose. Baal Shem Tov tells us that if you see an interaction, you hear something, you have in your life has to be teaching you about something. So there's a purpose for my whole existence. Every minute has a purpose. So you think God created me with all this and without providing for me what the means I have to fulfill this purpose? But by Techal Hashem lo yi'adir lo. Chozman v'chol makmatzayf yimei chayav. Ka'imrei. Like it says, he won't be lacking anything till the end of their days, as it says. V'ra'av patcha mimavas, even in a famine, I redeemed you from death, and even if there's a war, not that there's no war, I saved you from the sword. And it says, Hashem Roi, God's my shepherd, la yachser, nothing's lacking. And it says, I'm not going to be embarrassed in days in bad days, and in days of famine, I'm going to be full. And let's just finish the next few, and then we'll stop the class. See if we can get to the end of it. Okay. Bashmini, the eighth difference between a person who tries to create their own circumstances versus the person who trusts in Hashem. He says, "Lo yanuach b'makom mipachtei pen yigalu soidei." You never feel safe in your space, right? Maybe your secrets can be revealed. So you never settled. You're happy. The person who trusts in Hashem sleeps well at night where they are, because again, you're connected to a higher purpose. You're connected to the provider for that higher purpose, and therefore I can't say if I'm going to be here, if I stay here, if I live here, I have to hide. Ka'amra, it says, "Betach b'Hashem v'asei toiv." Trust in Hashem and do good. Shchain eretz re'ei amuna. Re'ei amuna means to pasture trust. Re'ei amuna. The Rebbe quotes this many times. That the idea is you have to be a shepherd of trust. Trust is an avoda. The point of it is it's not just a transition in your attitude. Deeper than that is also literally it's an avoda. It's a service to have bitachon, trust, and to have amuna. Like it says, Re'ei Amuna, you have to provide Amuna, you have to shepherd Amuna. When it says, Tzadikim Yushu Aretz, they inherit the land, V'yishkenu la'ad the land, and they're in the word Mishkan, they rest there properly. They have trust where they are. V'hatshi, okay, the ninth thing, Shabala Kimya, the person who tries to create their own circumstances. Lo yilaveu, here he says obviously the next thing which no one's beat this system ever. It hasn't been recorded ever in history that someone beat this idea, right? It says that the person who tries to create their own circumstances, let's just say you've figured it all out and you're protected from anything negative. All that you wanted, it worked out for you. What happens that's only up until 180, 120, as long as you survive, right? What happens after when the day when you go into the afterlife? Nothing goes with you. There hasn't been a person in history that took their money with them, right? It says about every barrel we say. And it's not, no matter how much you gather, you could leave a legacy, you could leave a trust fund, you could leave an inheritance that for your children, for your family, for tzedakah. You could do good deeds. The good deeds you do, that takes you to the world to come. But the money itself, the bank account, that stays here. Doesn't go with you to the world to come. And he says something else. Even everything that you've worked in this world, what is it going to give you? It's going to give you mezainis, it's going to give you substance. Maybe you won't be poor. Maybe you won't have to come on to another person. But still, that it's not going to help you with health, and it's not going to help you in the world to come. But however, the person who trusts in God, the fact that you trusted in Hashem is with you in this world and in the world to come. Like it says, the person who trusts in God's chesed yisayvenu, kindness surrounds you. And it says, what good is for the person who's that's what it says over here. Hold on, let me just give you the exact translation. It says, how abundant is your goodness that you have hidden for those who fear you, which is in the time of the world and the afterlife. On the bottom, he quotes, I haven't learned with you, he quotes different letters, and maybe we'll do next time. I just want to finish the 10 things, and then maybe we'll go back. We'll do one more. He said, I think this completes number 5 in the English. I'm reading it from my book, but I'm following a little bit along in English over here. It says, V'hasiri, the 10th difference between a person who tries to create their own circumstances with a person who trusts Hashem. Im nisparsem inyanoi b'maisav yasibas kilyoine v'avadai. If what you're doing gets revealed, that could actually be your downfall. Here we're talking more about the person who's trying to create a fake reality. That a fake reality isn't real. So if it's not real, once people realize it's a fake reality, then the whole house of cards comes down. But Manal Sakoil, which is Hashem, Yashlet love Mishi Hargehu Im Lo Yatzliach Lastir Saidai. How are you going to protect yourself from a person who's going to try to kill you if you're not able to hide your secret? However, Batech Bashem, the person who trusts God, Im Nisparsim Bitchainai, what's going to happen if someone says, how is this person successful? How is this person happy? How is this person so calm? Someone says there's no secret. The person just literally trusts in God. So what happens? Yigdal bein abris. Everyone's say, wow, this person trusts in God. Everyone's going to be impressed. It brings you close to people. Where the other person who has a scheme, tries to create a scheme to be successful, you're always trying to protect the secret. So no one should hear about it, not because it's embarrassing or because you don't want people to think less of you. But the person who trusts in Hashem, when they say, so how is this person so calm? You say, you know why? Because this person, he or she trusts in Hashem, it brings people closer to you. This is going to be the reason why everyone is successful around you. And when people realize that there's a righteous person amongst them, they say, wow, maybe that's the reason why our city has been blessed, why the city has been kept safe, because of people who like this, who trust in Hashem. Let me finish this off, the 10 introductions, that a tzaddik, a righteous person, is the foundation of the world. What's that mean? That the foundation of the world, just like a foundation is the foundation of a building, so too the tzaddik, the righteous person who places their trust, who has the right attitude in life, that's the foundation, not just for themselves, but for the whole world. Like when Lot ran off the Tzohar, so even though he wasn't a tzaddik, but the idea is that Lot's being in that little city, it says that he ran away. He didn't end up staying there, but he ran away to the 5th city, that the city itself survived. And that's talking about Lot, who's such a kind of person. But even more so, a tzaddik, a righteous person, a person who has trust. So not only is it beneficial to you, he or she is a benefit for the community. So those are the 10 things. We're going to stop here. Those are the 10 things that the Rebbeinu Bachaya quotes. And just before we finish off, I just want to read one letter that he quotes here from the Rebbe. He says like this. There's a letter that the Rebbe wrote to a woman. That she's asking the Rebbe to help her in her daigas, in her worries in life. Doesn't say what they are. The Rebbe says the idea that I could suggest. It's also simple. You must strengthen your trust in Hashem. The creator of the world, and the one who runs the world. He watches in every male and female, with divine, absolute, exact watching of each person of their situation. And you should contemplate. This is the Rebbe suggesting to the woman. In the words of the great singer of the Jewish people, meaning King David, and he says it not on his own, not for himself. We know that every one of the verses and the utterances of Tehillim, David Amelch, King David, or the one who authored it, is speaking on behalf of all the Jewish people. It means a person. That idea that they always say this is that David speaks on behalf of the Jewish people, is that a person shouldn't read the Tehillim and think, wow, David was a great believer. David's talking for you. You have to be that great believer. The great believer that you see in David, that should be you. So he says, B'Shem kol echad v'achas, that he speaks on behalf of every one of he or she of the Jewish people, Vashkacha Pratis, about the divine watching of Hashem, divine province. But his bonus b'divri na'am Yisrael, you should think about what he says, B'Shem kol echad v'achad Yisrael, on behalf of all the Jewish people. What does King David say in chapter 23? Hashem roi, if that God is my shepherd, loy echsar, I won't lack. Hashem li, God is with me. Loy ira, nothing bad is going to happen. The Talmud Eze Pa'amim, the Rebbe says it's not good enough to say it once. Learn it a few times, Mizmor, this Psalm, Psalm 23. Until you understand it and its content properly. From time to time, you have to rethink chapter 23. The tyrant that is mentioned is not just an outside tyrant. It's also the Yetzer Hara, the evil, the bad inclination that's within you. That is the true tyrant of a Jewish man and woman of the Jewish people. It's also, person has to understand, as it's taught in the teachings of Chassidus, God is the essence, like Aaron quoted a few weeks ago, God is the essence of good. And the nature of someone or something good is to do good. Right? You can't say someone is good, but then doesn't do good. The nature of good is to do good. And never forget God's always watching. Always watching you, protect you. So the Rebbe tells this woman that, and this completes really the main part of the introduction. After this, hopefully next week, we'll finish the introduction and we'll get to start soon the beginning of Shaar Habitochon, Perak Aleph. But the idea is that it's not, what the Rebbe is telling this woman is it's not something, okay, I know it, now I'm gonna run with it. It's an avoda. Learn chapter 23 over and over and over again. Learn it with the commentaries, learn it with the insights of Chassidus. Understand it, so when you get into a situation and you think about it, it gives you energy and strength to go get through that moment, knowing that Hashem Roi, that God is my shepherd. Nothing will be lacking. Hashem Li, God's with me. Nothing bad is going to happen. I want to wish everyone a good Shabbos and a Laila Tov. Take care.